Good morning. We're continuing our study of the Bible by looking at the ancient poetry, wisdom, literature, and apocalypses in the Old Testament. At the moment, we're looking at the poetry. We're looking at the psalmody. And on day 176, we are looking at wisdom and the Torah as they are represented in the book of Psalms. And for our example, we're using Psalm 32. People whose sins are forgiven and whose misdemeanors are pardoned, those that Yahweh does not accuse, and those that are free from deceit, people like these are delighted and relieved. At first I omitted to confess my sins, and I was worn out all the time with my distress. Day and night, Yahweh, I felt your punishment. I felt weak and drained, dried up like moisture in a heat wave. Eventually I decided to confess to you. I stopped hiding my wrongdoings from you, and when I confessed them, you forgave them all. When people find their resources are running low, those who are loyal should pray to you. When troubles come flooding in, you make them stop before doing them any damage. You are the safest place for me to hide. You save me from worry, which is why I sing out loud about the rescue and protection you provide. Yahweh replies, I'll teach you how to live. I'll give you instruction and advice. Don't be dull-witted like a horse or a mule that need bit and bridle to make them submit and behave. Naturally, the wicked will get hurt, but those who trust Yahweh receive the protection of his enduring love. So, if you are righteous, be glad and rejoice at everything Yahweh has done. If you obey him, shout for joy. This final category of psalms that come to our attention are teaching psalms, like this one, which teaches good behavior in accordance with the law of Moses. It shows people how to confess their misdemeanors in a fitting way and how to say thank you when forgiveness has been granted. Of course, nearly all the Psalms have something in them to teach us, but this category contains those Psalms which set out deliberately to impart wisdom or the history of the people. Sometimes this is done rather like a steam hammer, as is the case with the longest psalm, Psalm 119, which in each of its 22 divisions starts each verse with the same letter of the Hebrew alphabet, verses in section 1 starting with Aleph and continuing to section 22, whose verses begin with Tor, the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Every verse contains a reference to the statutes, laws, and ordinances of the laws of Moses, relentlessly driving into the mind of the singer or the reciter how important the Torah is. Sometimes we find, as in Psalm 136, the early history of Israel, summed up in a kind of litany, starting with verses about how the world was made, continuing with the story of the Exodus, and ending with the battles that enabled Israel to live in the Promised Land. After each verse, the congregation responds, sometimes rather inappropriately in my opinion, with "His love is eternal." And some, from the wisdom school, try to make people think more deeply about their faith and the nature of God. Scholars find it hard to put Psalm 139 into an individual category, but I think it belongs here. It is one of the absolute treasures of the book of Psalms. It meditates deeply on the meaning of human life and our relationship with God. God is shown as totally knowledgeable of our human condition. God is present to us even when we are not aware of it. The nature of creation and the wonder of human existence point to God working secretly in ways we find it hard to understand. Morality plays its part, of course, but in the end, the faith of the psalmist shines through, profoundly asking God to search his mind, to test me, and understand whatever it is I'm thinking, to discover if there is anything evil there, and to show me the way that has no end. Well, from tomorrow, we shall widen our search for ancient Hebrew poetry by looking elsewhere, outside the book of Psalms. Tomorrow we go back to the book of Exodus, to the poem that was put into the mouth of Moses in the imagination of those who told his story. And I'll see you tomorrow, perhaps with a little brighter light.